Hey guys, for today's video, I'm filming my monthly makeup ranking for July, and I have 19 products to review for you. So I'm just gonna dive right in. I will try to be as concise as possible. So I have 2 complete fails, 11 products that are just fine, and then I have 6 favorites. So a lot of stuff that was so here. I'm glad there weren't more fails, but I wish there were more favorites as well. I'm going to try to say the numbers aloud, but I'll probably just put them on the screen because I'm likely going to forget what the numbers are. So starting at the bottom with number 19, the worst product that I tried this month would be the First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Tinted Moisturizer in Bone. This is something that I had gotten from Look Fantastic for their SPF campaign, and this is terrible. It's a wonderful fair yellow color, which is nice, but this really gives like no coverage to your skin. And this is a very thick texture that just feels gross on the skin. So I have worn this a couple different ways. I've tried to blend it out with my fingers, which is not something I often do. It felt disgusting and it looked so bad. This clung to every dry patch. I couldn't make it blend up into my hairline nicely. It was just accentuating all of that, every line. It made me look very dry, which is weird because I wouldn't really say this is a matte product, but it was just how thick it was. It settled into everything, which looked disgusting. And it gave no coverage. I couldn't get it to blend onto my nose nicely. It looked very patchy. This is very tacky as well, so I had to set it with a lot of powder, and it gave me like no coverage. When I went on my concealer on top, I had a hard time blending it out. So that was disgusting. So then I tried it earlier today when I filmed my 0 to 3 month baby update. I mixed this with the Estee Lauder Double Wear Maximum Cover Foundation. That looked okay, but it's because of the maximum cover, which is actually I'm worried by itself right now. It looked okay because of that. This is just so terrible, and I don't know why I mixed the 2 of them together. Anyway, this is too thick to really be mixing with other things. And yes, it has SPF 30, but just wear sunscreen. Like, this is absolutely terrible. I would not recommend this for any skin type. If you've tried this and liked it, let me know. I have also tried applying it with a sponge. It applies better that way, but still just gives no coverage. It's super thick and it's hard to blend. Looks terrible. I don't even know how well it wears. I don't care. When something has this little coverage, you're not necessarily noticing that it's wearing off that much, but this is a terrible product. I'm definitely gonna be getting rid of it. I'm sure it has worked for some people. I feel like maybe Kelly Gooch has liked this. I don't know. I feel like some people have enjoyed this, but awful, 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 awful. Next is another thing that I was hoping to love that I just don't. This is the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Surfer Curl Mascara. I spent hundreds of Sephora points on this, and I wish I could have gotten it back. I think my friend Amanda Alexander loves this mascara. If I'm not mistaken, Amanda, let me know. I hate it. First off, look how messy it is. Every time I pull out the wand, just product will come out and then it dries, and then I'll have little like crumbly bits come off every time I open it, and it's already decently dried out, and I've only used it for a month. And this is what the brush looks like, which looks to me like it would grab onto your lashes decently to give some good volume. No, this does not give me volume or length. It just makes my lashes look black, and I don't even feel like it like thoroughly coats them. I am officially going to stop using this. I have no interest in using it for the 2 months I usually use mini mascaras, so I'm calling this done. There is mascara like all around the edge here that just makes a mess. I don't like this. Sure, it could be a packaging flaw because it's a mini, but like, no. So those are my 2 fails. Now we're on into the fine category. This is another mascara that I may have also gotten as a 100-point perk, and a lot of people love this. This is the Ilia Limitless Lash Mascara. This one is better. So this is a plastic bristle wand. I don't know if you can tell, but there are different bristles on the top and on the bottom. I tend to use this flat comb side, and I will do a volumizing mascara first, this one, and then I went on top of this to help comb it out. This does give some nice length and separation. This is very hard though, and it can be pretty pokey, so you want to be careful when you're at the base of your lashes. But I'm not noticing that this is anything that special. I've tried other separating, lengthening mascaras that I think would be better than this. Smashbox Superfan is one of them, so I'm not going to get any more minis of it. I will use this one for another month because it has a decent amount of wetness still, but I definitely don't love it as much as everybody else. It was just okay for me, and probably just in comparison to the other mascara, which I didn't like. Next is something that I'm surprised that I don't love more, because everyone that has tried these has loved them from what I've seen, and that would be the Sigma Renew lip oils. They have a clear pH gloss, and then they have 3 colored ones. I have the one that's the most rich in pigment. It's the coral color, Tranquil. And I did, woo, oh gosh, I don't think y'all just saw that. It gooped out and it dripped on this basket I have here. So you can see it has some pretty shine, and it does actually have a little bit of color. Because my lips are so lightly pigmented, it does actually show up. But when I wore this in a video, you couldn't see it very well because I had a little bit of foundation on my lips underneath by accident. I hate foundation lips. And when I put this on top, it just kind of like moved the foundation around. It made my lips look very pale with a slight coral tint. So I use this and I make sure that I like wipe off any foundation underneath, and then it shows up nicer. This does have a nice thicker consistency that has a nice cushiony feel to it, but it is a little sticky as it wears off. I think it's pretty, but I'm just not blown away by this. I'm not gonna go buy any more shades, but this is something that I would consider using up. I also forgot to, let's just see if it does it again. Okay, can you see? A little stringy. And this is what the applicator looks like. So again, this is just okay. I feel like I haven't really fallen in love with lip oils that I've tried so far for the most part. I know that they can be pretty popular, but this is just okay. Decently long wearing, can be a little sticky as it wears. Not the most hydrating, but it doesn't dry my lips out either. I wish it had a little bit more color, and it's just fine. So the next thing is the palette that I'm wearing today. I think this eye look is very pretty. I recreated a look from Samantha Ravindall using the Morphe Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 palette. So I've created 2 looks with this palette. One very neutral look that I did in my 0 to 3 month update, and then this more intense look today. I wish I would have been able to create more looks with this, but I had a lot of shadows that I was testing, and I do like this eye look today. I do think that the colors, I mostly use mattes. They were pigmented, rich, blended nicely, layered nicely. I think that this is pretty, but the neutral look that I did, I mostly used like these shades here. These are all super similar. They didn't really look different on the eye. And then I used this shimmer on the lid. It did show up shimmery, but this is a little bit of a dry shadow, a little flaky. It almost looks like it is sealed up a little bit, which I don't like that. And then I had swatched this and then the other shimmers underneath of it, and I just felt like they did not have enough creamy base pigment. They were very flaky, and that really surprised me for a Jaclyn Hill eyeshadow, because creamy, buttery are her favorite words, and those were disappointing. So I have a lot more shades to test out, but honestly, I can see myself getting rid of this palette. I shouldn't have purchased it in the first place. I knew that I probably wasn't gonna reach for it just because of the size and the way that I have to store it. And again, I like this look today. Those shades perform very well. I do have similar shades to these and other palettes in my collection. I want to play around with it a little bit more, but I really can see myself getting rid of this palette, which is a shame, and I shouldn't have purchased it in the first place, but that will probably leave my collection at some point. And next would be the Roen 1111 Quad. I'm so glad I got this for, I think, half off from Sephora right after Christmas, and It's not on the Sephora website anymore. Here's what this looks like. Hannah Louise Poston and Lauren May Beauty have raved about the Roen Quads in general, but especially this one. That's why I wanted to try it. I love Hannah and Lauren, but I do my makeup very differently from them. And I was really hoping to love this, and I just didn't as much. I felt like this shade in particular was very dry. And I tried applying it with a brush. No, you have got to apply these with your finger. They're like a thin, sheer, chunky glitter shadow cream, and they definitely do need to be applied with a finger. These two like warm tone shades at the bottom had a bit more pigment to them. They were a little smoother. They weren't as chunky as this color. I created two looks, one with these two shades, one with these two shades. I definitely want to play with this more. I think that this is like a cool brand, and I felt cool having this from Roen, but it's not my favorite. It did crease a little bit on me. It does stay tacky, and I do have hooded lids, so some of the shimmer did transfer a bit. It wasn't terrible. This didn't crease on me as bad as I thought it might, so I'm gonna play around with this more. I'm not gonna declutter this yet, but this is definitely something I could have done without in my collection, and I know I got it half off, but it was still very pricey. Roen is a very expensive brand, so the formula is just not for me. Next, I have two shades of the Hourglass Scattered Lights Shadows, and I wanted to show you guys these because we all knew that I was trying to catch them all. I have them all except the olive shade, and then I hadn't really worn any of them. I have worn Smoke so far, which I really like, and then one other one, I think. But I wanted to wear these two shades for summer, and I did. So I decided to wear Burnish when I was filming the intro and outro for my makeup collection, which is like a coppery bronze. And then I decided to use the bronzy gold foil when I was filming the intro and outro for my skincare inventory. I think I said makeup collection. I'm going to say makeup inventory. So Burnish was in my makeup inventory. Foil was in my hair, skin, and body inventory. And these are very creamy shadows. They're super easy to apply. I do go in with a brush first to get the precision on my lid over top of a cream base. I do that with all my shadows. And then I take my finger and apply a second layer to really amp up the intensity. The only thing is that the opening is a little small for my finger because I have very long nails. So currently the only short nail I have is my thumb. So literally when I used this yesterday, I put my thumb in here and then went like this, which was just crazy, but it worked. And these are very pretty. They perform really well. They last really well. I do really like these. I do still think that the Tarte Chrome Paint Shadow Pots are better. I just like that formula more. I think they're more punchy. So if I had to pick one formula over the other, I would pick Tarte over these. And for some reason, the Tartes have been on sale more often. I think they're probably going to discontinue them, which is so upsetting because I barely like anything from Tarte. That's one thing I love, but I have all the colors I want. Anyway, I'm rambling. These are good. I'm happy I used them. And I'm glad I got them for the price that I did. I would not want to get these just 20% off. I got them for at least half off, if not a little bit more than half off, and I'm happy with that price. I got them from the BoxyCharm Facebook group. So next would be the Uoma by Sharon C, which is their drugstore line. It's available at Walmart. This is the a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's complicated lip tint, oil, and gloss. And I have the nude shade Softie, which is more of a cool tone nude, which is just very interesting to begin with, like a cool tone brown nude. That's very interesting to begin with because a lot of lip stains are brighter pink, purple, orange, or red. They're brighter shades. So to see it in a nude, I already think feels very interesting. And it is a throwback to me because when I started wearing makeup back in the day is when the marker lip stains were very popular. CoverGirl had some, Revlon had those Just Bitten ones with that little balm at the end. I had some of those and wore those all the time. They smelled and tasted like blue raspberry, which was delish, but they wore off terribly. Like, they did not wear nicely and they were very drying. This is very nice. When you first apply it, it definitely does feel like a stain, and luckily because this is a nude shade and it's so natural to my lip color, it was, I mean, it's super easy to apply to begin with for a lip stain because it is a nice like flat paddle applicator as opposed to a marker. Super easy to apply. I kind of like stopped myself mid-sentence and sort of changed the topic. What was I saying? Okay, so when you apply it, the formula feels like that thin liquidy stain, and then after a few minutes you really do start to feel the glossiness. It's a lot smoother. You can rub your lips together. It doesn't feel sticky, and it lasts for a little bit of time, not as long because it is a gloss, and as it wears off I don't really notice much of a stain left behind. But again, I think it's because I picked a nude shade that's very similar to my skin tone. So I do like this. I would say give it a try. It is a very unique formula for a lip product, but I'm not going to go out and buy any other shades. There is a really beautiful terracotta in the line, and then there's some like reds basically. So I think that this one and the terracotta one are definitely unique colors for a lip stain product. So I wouldn't really necessarily call this a lip oil. I would say it's like a lip tint and a gloss. So very unique formula. I'd give it a try for the $6 that it cost, I believe. Very cool. I will reach for it, but for the color, not because I'm specifically wanting to wear this formula. Interesting, not a must-have. Then we have got some bronzers, and the first one would be the Juvia's Place Bronzer Duo in the light shade. So you have a more cool tone color, warm tone color. I've used them both as bronzer, both as contour. These do show up okay on my skin, but these aren't as powdery as I thought they would be. I feel like I really had to dig my brush in there to get a good amount of product on the brush. You could see it on my skin, but I was just wanting this to be a little bit more powdery because it'd be easier to pick up. Blended fine, looked pretty, nothing super special. I definitely have other bronzers I would reach for over this one. I think the colors are really pretty. I like that this is more of a cool tone color without being too gray. It's a cool tone shade that I can actually use to contour. I actually kind of wish that this one was a little lighter and this one was a little darker because I want a darker color where I'm contouring. But I just wish it was more pigmented and a little powdery when applying it. Like the next product up, which is the Ofra and Samantha March bronzer in River. This is very powdery. I find that the shimmer side is much more powdery than the matte side, but this is very orangey tone on my skin. I also can see the shimmer, even when I mix the two of them together, I can see the shimmer when I'm applying this on my forehead, and I don't love it because it doesn't look like a glow, it looks like shimmer. I've tried the shimmery bronzer on its own, too shimmery for my preferences, and I think it's just a skin tone thing because I know Karen Harris loves this. She has hit major pan on hers, and it's something that I will continue to use. I like it, but I don't love it because it's too orange, and this is a little too powdery, a little too messy. So it's like, this is a little too dense, this is a little too powdery. If we could get a little bit of a medium consistency there, that would work nicer for me. Then we have two blushes. So the first one would be the Juvia's Place Blush Duo in Volume 2, which is the lighter one. So I have a peachy pink blush and an orange blush. They're both matte. I wore this one with my two blush rose looks and this with my two bronze rustic looks. I think these are fine. These are pretty pigmented because they're very rich colors. They don't have a ton of kick up in the pan, which works for me because I'm very fair, but these are easy to build up. I feel like it's easier to build up the blush than it was the bronzer for me, and it could just be because of the colors that I was noticing the pigment on this more than it was on the bronzer. But I thought these looked very pretty on the skin. They didn't look too dry, but these are true matte blushes. But I didn't necessarily need this in my collection. I have other shades similar to this. This is not a color I would reach for that often because it's so saturated and so orange. I do think I will get use out of this. It's something I do think I will continue to pair with those palettes, but I just am not head over heels for that, unfortunately. And then the next product would be the Ofra Samantha March blush. This is the Chick Lit blush. And again, we have a matte side and a shimmer side. I have used both these on their own and I've mixed them together. And I especially like the matte side. I think that's a really pretty shade. I guess it is kind of similar to the Juvia's Place. This one's just a little peachier and that was a little more pink, but very similar. And this looks very pretty in the skin. I did like this. I wore this a lot this month, but you know, if I had to only have like 15 blushes, this one would not make the cut. And I know that Ofra products are very, very expensive. I got these on sale, but they were still a little bit overpriced for me. So if you can get these half off, which you might be able to, Samantha's collection is still available. If you can get them for half off, I'd say go for it, but I'm just not super blown away, but I do like the blush. And then the last product in the fine category would be the Juvia's Place Blushed Rose palette. So this is one of their mini palettes, which has 6 shades. So the pans are not mini, the pans are full-size pans. It's just that you only have 6 shades. We've got 2 shimmers and 4 mattes, which I enjoyed. So I wore this transition shade with all of my looks. And then I swapped out these for crease colors with one of the shimmers. I used this shade, and this one I used this shade, I think. And then I used that with my outer corner for both looks. I honestly could be wrong with that. But for my skin tone, it does work as transition shade, crease color, outer corner, and then 2 different lid shades. And I like this. It performs well, pigmented, blends nicely. I'm not astounded by Juvia's Place eyeshadows though. I've used them before. I haven't been super in love. I do like these. This one is a little too orangey for me, and what I think goes with the rest of these very pink eyeshadows. I think it should have been more of like a hot pink base with an orange flash instead of being an orange base with like a hot pink flash. So in person, to me, this one is a little too orangey for the other shades in this palette. And I also was hoping that these matte shades would be a little bit more peachy, and they are like true pinks, at least on my skin tone, or compared to what I consider to be peaches. So I just didn't love all of the tones in these shadows, but they did perform nicely. I like the looks that I created, but I didn't love this one as much as I thought I would, and I actually thought that I would like this one more than the other palette. So it's good, not amazing. I don't know how much I'm gonna reach for that over some of my other palettes. I do still way prefer the ColourPop Sweet Talk palette because of the tones of those shadows. So lastly, we have my top 6 favorite products. At number 6, I have the Natasha Denona Mini Zendo palette. I did wear all of the shades in here. I created 2 looks with this palette, one with this shade on the lid, one with this shade on the lid. And then I did also incorporate the single that I got as a free sample. This is from their large palette, and it's in the shade Sense. And I know that some people have said that some of her shadows are this like weird creamy finish, and when people have said it, they, at least from what I've seen, haven't mentioned which shades they're talking about in the palette, but this one kind of feels like what I'm imagining people are talking about. And I had tried to like buff that in the outer corner. It didn't work as well. This is something that I feel like does need to be more like packed on to the lid, and it has a pretty sheen to it, but it's not as metallic as I would want it to be. So I'm glad that I didn't buy the midi palette. I've heard pretty mixed opinions on it, and I actually like the colors in the mini way more than the midi. I actually thought that was gonna be the first midi I was gonna buy, and then it came out and I was like, what? But I really like these colors here. The only thing is that this shimmer, I don't know if you can tell because I did scrape off a little bit. I felt like it almost sealed up on itself when I used it, which I don't like, but it's such a pretty shade. I just think that's kind of a unique color. I really like it. And then of course the shimmery, like sagey, silvery green color is very unique. It looks a little bit more silvery in the swatch, and it looks a little more green in the palette, I'd say. And then I really like these two mattes here. This color I definitely could have done without. It's a bit more of like just a satin shade. I like that like reddish undertone to that purple. I think that's very unique. And that one would be pretty packed on too, but that shade itself is not that impressive to me, but I do like the other colors in this palette. I'm very happy to have it. I enjoy the looks that I created. I'm just hoping that I'm not going to have issue with the shimmer sealing up on themselves or getting like a little bit of hard pan, but I do like this so far. Number 5 would be the Juvia's Place Bronzed Rustic palette. So just like the Blush Rose, you have got 2 shimmers and 4 mattes, and I used all the shades here. And when I used this color, I used a very diffusing, tapered, fluffy crease brush so that I was just getting a light amount of product and blending it out. And at first I was like, oh, this is okay. Like this shimmer I thought wasn't that special, and it's not that unique, but I love the way that my makeup turned out the 2 days that I wore this palette. I was really happy with the final result, and I just love a good warm tone eye on me. I have green eyes. I have very fair yellow tone skin. Reddish blonde hair is the color I dye it, and I think that these colors just very flattering on me. I don't think that you necessarily have to have this in your collection because these colors are very similar to other things, which is why I resisted these 2 palettes for such a long time, and then I finally decided to purchase them. I do like these. I think the Juvia's Place mattes are a little on the thin side and do sometimes need to be built up, but the shimmers on their other hand are always very thick, a little like dimethicone, and they can transfer on me up into my crease because I have hooded eyes because they're a little bit oilier of a shimmer shadow. So Juvia's Place formula, I don't love it as much as other people, but this did work nicely and I really enjoyed the 2 looks that I created. And then these top 4 are super favorites. So number 4 would be the Buxom Wanderlust blush in Mykonos, which is a really pretty orangey coral color, but this does have enough coral in it. It isn't just orange. Let me show you in comparison to the Juvia's Place. So you can see much more coral than the Juvia's Place, which is like a real burnt orange. And you can see it's more coral, a little more orangey than the shade, which looks pink in comparison. So this is kind of like a mix of the both of those, except brighter. And I love this. These blushes wear so nicely. I have this one, I have Dolly, which is the mauve, and then I did just buy Seychelles, which I haven't used yet. But this one is a matte blush. It looks like it has some shimmer particles in the pan, like very lightly. Like I'm really having to look for them, but it definitely looks matte on the skin. Very pigmented, lasts a nice long time on me. Really beautiful shade. I really enjoyed reaching for this one, so this is definitely going to be a go-to summer blush for me. I really wish they would make more shades in this blush range. I feel like Buxom, most of the people just like the glosses, but people do like these blushes as well. I know they had released a White Russian palette, which people did not like. It had some shadows in it, and then 2 blushes that were this formula, but were exclusive shades. They need to make those shades in singles because I know I would buy them. I think they're beautiful nude blushes. So I'll cross my fingers that Buxom will do that in the future. They totally should expand on this range because this is a great product from them. And then product number 3, something that I did not expect to love so much. It is the Ofra and Steph Tom's Milk and Cookies highlighter. I love the Ofra highlights. Ofra has my favorite highlight formula because it is very metallic, but it still looks smooth on the skin. It emphasizes texture a little bit, but not bad because it's not super powdery. I feel like more powdery highlights accentuate skin texture for me. I thought this was going to be too dark for me, so I have mixed the two together, which is what I did most often, but I've also worn each of the shades individually. Even the darker shade I can wear, and I think it looks very beautiful. It's something I can only get away with in the summer. I haven't been outside to get any color, but it goes nicely with the summery makeup looks that I've been wearing. I love the color of this. I think this is my favorite Ofra highlighter that I have, and I have a bunch that I really love, but I think that this is my number one. The shades look so beautiful, so blinding. With this color, because it does have that nice intense sheen, it's very blinding, but because the color is a little deeper, it looks a bit more natural. You just really see like that wet glow look, not necessarily the color of it. But even when I turn my head, where normally if a highlight had too dark of a base pigment, you'd see the streak. I don't see the streak with this. I really love the color of this. A beautiful formula. Like I said, I think Ofra has amazing highlights. Pricey highlights. I think all of Ofra's products are overpriced because you can often get them on sale and because they work with influencers. But the highlights are phenomenal quality. So I definitely recommend this one. I think it's so, so good. And then we have my top two, which I'm absolutely in love with. This one surprised me a little bit with how much I love it. It is the ColourPop and Liz McGuire What Dreams Are Made Of palette. I'm glad I love this because this was very expensive. It's $22 because it's a Disney collab palette and it has a mirror. The palettes with mirrors are always like $2 more. And it does have 12 shades in here. I used every single shade, which is awesome. I'm so proud of that. I did 3 looks. So I did a green look, a pinky purple look, and then a peachy coral look. Love. Love, love, love. And even the green look, I didn't think I would love it, but I thought it looked very, very pretty and bright on my eyes. And you do have one pressed glitter in here. It did apply pretty well for a pressed glitter. I did use some glitter glue and then I just pack it on with my finger. It did do a nice job. I would say you need to do all the rest of your shadow and then save that for last, because if you put that on and then go in and blend stuff in your crease, you're gonna have some glitter fall out. But it performed pretty well for a pressed glitter. And the shades in here are so amazing. So unfortunately you do have 2 mattes with glitter in here. They look very pretty on the eye. The glitter didn't bother me on the eye. It just makes them messier in the pan. But I was very impressed with the pigmentation on these. I loved the 3 looks that I created. I liked them way more than I thought I would. Of course, you guys are probably not surprised that these 2 shades here are my favorite. I love a good old transition crease color. So, so beautiful. These rich shades were very rich, very saturated. I was so happy with the way that this performed. I definitely recommend this palette if you haven't gotten it already. It is available at Ulta now, which is fantastic. I would recommend getting it there because you can use the $3.50 off coupon on this product. This was the only thing I picked up from the collection. I'm glad, because I wouldn't have used the other things. It would have just been nostalgia. And I got this for nostalgia reasons, but I actually really loved this palette. So that makes me super happy. And then my number 1 product would be the Roen Kiss Liquid Lip Balm, I think is the name of it. And it is in the shade Charlie. They have 3 shades. This is their middle shade that was available in BoxyCharm. And I bought this off the BoxyCharm Facebook group because Roen is a very fancy brand. And I think at the time I got this, I knew that Khaki really liked this formula. So I wanted to try it because these glosses and lip oily type products were just so popular in general. This is amazing. I love this color. It looks so pretty and natural on my lips, gives a perfect amount of color to them. Okay, I can't smell right now, but I know that this has a bit of a minty scent. It feels a little cooling on the lips. It's not a plumping product at all. I also love the little teardrop shaped applicator. It makes it super easy to use it like right in your Cupid's bow, at the corners of your lips. This feels so smooth. It's not sticky at all. This feels plush without being too thick. I think that if the Sigma lip oil was this formula, I'd buy all the shades. I love this so much that I actually just bought a backup, which you guys are gonna see in my August haul from the Boxy Charm Facebook group. I don't need a backup of this, but I was able to get it for like $10, and this gloss is somewhere between like $25, $28. Roen is a very expensive brand, so because I was able to get it for like 70% off, I decided to get a backup, which may be a little silly, but I feel like I'm gonna wear this all the time. Super comfortable, very smooth, very cushiony, decently long lasting, not sticky. I love this color. I wish they had more shades. I would be interested in the lighter color, although Lauren May Beauty just got it and she said she wasn't obsessed. I agree with her, the darker shade is darker than my preference. Roen did just come out recently with 3 shimmer versions of these glosses. Khaki did not like the formula at all. She said it was nothing like this one, which she really loves. So I'm just gonna stick with this one here. Really, really enjoy this formula, and that stinks because it's so pricey, but I will have, remind me if I don't do it, the Boxy Charm Facebook group link down below. Definitely, if you're wanting to try this, look for it now, because the reason I got the backup now is because if you wait too long, people have already sold it if they were wanting to sell it, you know, like this is only going to come up once, and maybe these will come up in Boxy Charm pop-up at some point. That would be great. I know that they had the 1111 palette on there recently, but I didn't see the glosses. Anyway, I love this. This is definitely my favorite product of the month. I'm so excited to wear this more. Super beautiful, very comfortable, a must-have for me. So as pricey as this is, I definitely recommend this, especially if you can snag it on the Boxy Charm Facebook group for that very, very good price. And those are all of my thoughts on the 19 products that I tried out this month. 20 if you count both shades of the Hourglass Scattered Lights eyeshadow, but I put them together as one. So a lot of new things here, a lot of things in the fine category, only a couple things that I hated, and luckily that BB or Tinted Moisturizer I got in PR, that little mini mascara was a 100-point perk, waste of 100 points, whatever, but at least I got to try it. So a lot of things that are okay here, some real good favorites. Some of these things you'll definitely see in my end of the year favorites. I enjoyed them so much. So I would love to know your thoughts on all these products in the comments down below. And I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was a long one. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.